Welcome to my second EDH video here. My general this time is Seizan, Perverter of Truth. He's a 6/5 body, which isn't bad for 5 mana. The deck is very much built around his ability, which is at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses 2 life and draws 2 cards. He's a bit of a double-edged sword. A lot of people like him on the field, gives them cards. But once I get some of the stuff out that makes this more of an advantage for me than anyone else, everyone comes after him with the fury. Mana base, Peat Bog. It's not very good. Enters tapped, but it can tap for 2 mana. After you use it twice, you sacrifice it. This will be a Cabal Coffers once I get one. Crypt of Agadim. Usually this just taps for black, but if I have enough creatures in my graveyard, it taps for 1 black for each creature in my grave. I have a lot of draw in this deck, so Reliquary Tower is very useful. The rest of the lands are all basics. There are 35 swamps. Black Vice. This is banned in most formats. Legal in EDH. At the beginning of target opponent's upkeep, Black Vice deals that player 1 damage for each card in their hand in excess of 4. With all the card draw I put on the field, this is often a problem, especially if someone has a lot of big creatures in their hand and they can't play more than 1 or 2 cards a turn. Nihil Spellbomb, because with all the draw that I give people, they can very easily build up some big graveyards, and if they have recursion, this helps stop that. Glaring Spotlight, so that my removal still works. And the sack effect to make all creatures unblockable is nice. Can swing in for games sometimes. And could always use that on someone else's turn to let them hit someone else also, once they declare their attackers at someone else and before they declare blockers. For Exchange Processor, I have mixed feelings on this one. As it enters the battlefield, you pay any amount of life. You pay 4 mana and put an XX minion token on the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you paid. In EDH, this is usually quite a bit. I usually pay around 20. And there's some life gain in this deck, so I can usually get that back. But it's a risk. Grimoire of the Dead. Get all the things that died back. Nightmare Lash. Creatures get +1/+1 for each swamp I control. Nice to put this on small guys and make them real dangerous. Onaganata. Any creature with power 3 or greater I can equip this to give them trample, and another +3 can be pretty mean. Last equipment in the deck is Elbrus the Binding Blade. If it hits someone, transforms into a much beefier Flying Intimidate 13/13 Trample. So definitely a win condition if no one deals with this and I can connect. Cage Sun again, same as my Omnath deck. Something to ramp the mana up. Obviously helps with insanguinating late game. Have some more draw in here. Temple Bell. Otherworld Atlas. I'll probably get a Howling Mine at some point. I haven't picked one up yet, but that'll go in here when I get one. Underworld Dreams. Whenever an opponent draws a card, this deals them 1 damage. So they lose 2 life from Seizan, upkeep ability. They're drawing 3 cards a turn. This deals them 3 more, so they're losing 5 life during their turn. Psychosis Crawler. Whenever I draw a card, everyone else loses a life. Polluted Bonds. Whenever land comes into play under an opponent's control, they lose 2 life, I gain 2 life. This deck's really built around if there's a lot of players and they leave me alone, I start getting the stuff out, my life total starts skyrocketing, and I get out of hand. This deck's not meant to win, it's meant to be fun. Blood Chief Ascension, like I said, this deck is meant to be fun, it's not meant to win. I'm not running Mind Crank to infinite combo off of this. I don't like infinite combos. It's in here because it's strong and mean, and I get the counters on it very quickly with Seizan, because everyone's losing 2 life during their upkeep by default. Exquisite Blood, all that life loss from Seizan and playing lands and whatnot, I get all that life myself. Again, I don't like infinite combos. I am not running Sanguine Bond. Baneful Omen. You may have noticed a fair few cards that have high mana costs I've already gone through, so this goes great in this deck. At the end of my turn, I reveal the top card of my library. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost, which goes great with Wound Reflection. At the end of each turn, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn. So if I have this out, along with that, you see where I was going. And now some removal. I have a lot of rather situational removal, since I figure I'm playing probably 3 or 4 other people. It'll all be relevant at some point. Human Frailty, Destroy Human, Tragic Slip, always useful. Get rid of Avacyn. Soul Reap, destroy non-green creature. Its controller loses 3 life if I played another black spell on the same turn. Smother. Victim of Night. Generally speaking, this kills anything. Unless I'm playing like a tribal vampire EDH deck, which I've seen. Another conditional card, Massacre. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. But if an opponent controls a swamp, if I control a swamp and an opponent controls a plains, this is free to cast. And more often than not, on a big table, it's free. Very conditional, Hex. Destroy 6 target creatures, which means there needs to be 6 creatures on the field for this to resolve. Consuming Vapors, another source of life gain. Barter in Blood, everyone sacks 2. Consume the Meek. I like this card because it's instant speed. Someone swings at me with their token army and can blast them with this, and they all die. Some more life gain. Tendrils of Corruption. Corrupt. I'm running Diabolic Tutor and Increasing Ambition. Get the cards I need. Usually get Cage Sun with those so that I can actually start playing a lot more stuff. Sign in Blood, more draw. Bubbling Muck, until end of turn, swamps tap for an extra mana. Cabal Ritual, it's nice if I can get it a threshold for 5, but usually it winds up just being 3. It's nice hitting this to just cast Seizan in turn 4. Get him out a turn early before people have an immediate answer, and as long as it comes back to me 1 turn, I get 2 more cards, and I'm happy enough. Liliana of the Dark Realms. This deck, it helps just to always have those land drops, and if I can get her emblem, that's a lot of fun. Seizan is a demon, and I have other demons in here as well. So Mark of the Oni, I enchant creature, I control it. As long as I control demon, this is basically a 3-mana mind control in this deck. Rise from the Grave, because why not? Same for Army of the Damned. Who doesn't like an army of zombies? Blood Tithe. Each opponent loses 3 life. I gain life equal to life lost this way. Very nice to have this in hand if I use Phyrexian Processor and hit myself for 20 early game, get some of that back. Exsanguinate, the black I win the game spell. Undying Evil. Target creature gains Undying until end of turn. Very handy for just hitting Seizan with this after a board wipe. especially something where he can't be regenerated, because this is not regeneration, it just simply comes back. Skull to Grimace, give a creature regenerate. Blessing of Leeches, this is basically the better version of Skull to Grimace as far as I'm concerned. You can flash it in at any time. It doesn't give a +1/+1. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life. But it has pay 0, regenerate enchanted creature. So, as long as there's only things destroying the creature and nothing preventing the regen, they're basically indestructible. Typhoid Rats. It's always nice to give Typhoid Rats on the field, say, come get me. With all that draw, it's nice to be able to drop an extra land. So the only thing in black that'll do that is Walking Atlas. Bloodhusk Ritualist, multi-kicker. Discard a card for every extra black you pay. Late game, if someone's playing mono blue or Bant or something, they have a big fat hand. They tap out for Sphinx. Next turn you can hit him with this probably. Pulse Tracker, 1/1 when it attacks, each opponent loses a life. Just something to get you ahead early game. Reassembling Skeleton, blocker every turn. Cryptghast, great card in EDH, doubles your mana. The Extort trigger can really add up a lot of life when you have a lot of opponents. Sangromancer, there's not a lot of discard in this deck. There used to be more. A lot of that got pulled out just because I found it was too slow in most cases, and oftentimes people actually didn't have much of a hand when I was running a lot of discard. But whenever an opponent loses a creature, I gain 3 life is still very nice, and is not a bad body for 4 mana. Bog Witch. I can discard a card to get 3 black mana. This is great with Seizan because I'm often drawing a lot more cards than I can play in a turn, especially more lands. So if I'm drawing 3 or 4 cards a turn with Temple Bell and Seizan or Otherworld Atlas, I'll have a lot of cards, a lot of extra lands. I can dump a land for 3 black. Basically turns it into a Dark Ritual. Very handy utility card. Siphon Mage, another discard outlet. Discard a card. Each other player loses 2 life. I gain life equal life lost. And Nightmare because late game, big creature. Massacre Worm. You don't really need to explain Massacre Worm. He says ouch. Grave Titan. More of the same, big creature, scary. Ward of the Void, trying to stay a bit on theme with demons. There's not a lot. I used to have a few more that wound up getting cold, but Ward of the Void's good. A lot of people play a lot of really big creatures. This exiles the top 7 cards of player's library if it hits them. I can put a creature from one of those cards onto the battlefield under my control, so this can be really big, especially when it hits like an Eldrazi or whatnot. And the fact it's a demon helps with Mark of the Oni. Chancellor of the Dross. 6/6 flying lifelink. If I have it in my opening hand, it's a big life swing. Often, if I have this in my opening hand, I'm the first one to lose, though, because everyone goes after the guy that's starting the game with 49 life. Butcher fell down. Butcher Valkyr. I'm not running Grave Pact. I don't like Grave Pact, honestly. I find it kind of too good. It's too boring. Makes you too much of a target. Butcher Valkyr is easier to remove. And even if you do remove him, his effect still goes in the stack. So, handy card. Keeps people in check. And if someone has an indestructible ward also, this is handy because if someone else can wipe the field, all of my stuff dies, all of everyone's stuff dies. Indestructible field says, haha, I don't care, but all of his sack triggers go in the stack, and they still have to sack all their creatures. Reaver Demon, Terror hits everyone. And the last big bomb I have is Caco Demon. When it enters the battlefield, destroy all creatures I don't control, and tap all creatures I do control for 10 mana. So one-sided board wipe, basically a Plague Wind, but he comes into play with an 8/8 body also. And that is my Seizan Perverter of Truth EDH deck. It's a relatively budget deck. There's not a whole lot of expensive cards in here. It's not built to win, like I said. It's designed to just make very silly things happen when I get a lot of those enchantments out. I can have a 30 or 40 life swing just by passing my turn and letting everyone draw their cards and lose the life from all of the effects on my enchantments and Seizan himself. So basically just fun shenanigans. I like it. It's one of my favorite decks to play once it gets going. It can be frustrating to play against control where I just can't ever do anything since I'm mono black. I can't destroy their enchantments very easily. But yeah, it's fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. This has been Jim's Seizan Perverter of Truth EDH deck.